least a very small 3D printed version of it. While mulling over ideas of what I wanted to do as the soulstone container, we just kept coming back to Vormir. That's what held the stone. Now we went through different versions of Natasha and Gamora's hands, maybe holding the stone, or something to do with the Red Skull, but he was just a guardian. We just kept coming back to this. I went through a couple iterations of this. This is actually version 2.19 and a half, because I kept upgrading it, and that's why it took so long to release on social media. I just wasn't happy with it. Now it has chasing lights, and now it has a built-in smoke machine, and when you open it up just right, you can reveal the soulstone hiding inside. This was a lot of fun to help collaborate with. I didn't do the 3D modeling. You guys know I don't know how to do that quite yet, but a good friend of mine, G, you've heard his name before here on the channel. He modeled my Dagger of Time, and I've worked with a couple other things. He's the one who modeled this, and we went back and forth with ideas. So I want to show you guys how it's built, how it has a little smoke machine in it, which you guys have already seen on the channel, and some of you did guess right, while others you didn't guess close at all. And I want to kind of show you how the lights go through it, the electronics and everything that's involved, and maybe how you guys can make your own little Vormir. So this is Vormir. It's printed in a clear PLA, allowing the lights to bleed through, and then I painted it with modeling paint. Don't ask me which modeling paint it is. I couldn't tell you. I used it all, and it was painted probably about 2 or 3 months ago at this point, because again, I slacked a little bit. And it allows just enough light to bleed through to have the chasing pulsing effect, but when I turn it off, it just looks like a hunk of rocks. And then I went and hand painted all the white to kind of look like snow. Now the back isn't as pretty as I'd want it to be. I have a very simple metal hinge, a little charging port right here, and then the little switch to turn it on and off. And you can see where I went a lot heavier with the lights, or the paint. The light doesn't bleed through as much, and there's some Velcro there to hold all the electronics in. On the bottom is a battery pack, and these batteries right here are the batteries for the LED lights. Now you can do this however you want it. This is just basically 5 to 6 volts going to these LED lights. You can use a rechargeable battery pack, a USB battery pack, a LiPo battery, but I am going to substitute these for rechargeable batteries that I can just recharge whenever, and it locks right in. The hinge mechanism is the one thing I am still working on, like a kickstand system. I needed it to stay open, and what I landed on was a small magnetic tab right here that locks into the side. So when it sits there, it's just a kickstand, but I can push it over to the side a little bit. However, it does mess with the alignment, so if I'm not careful with it, it can kind of get a little skewed. But it allows me to still open it all the way when I need to do some maintenance. Now inside I have some cotton, and we're gonna pull this out so I can show everything. This helped with the smoke effect and gave the smoke, the fog, the vape pen, something to kind of sit inside of. Now right here is a Velcroed little LED tea light. So basically there's 3 battery systems that go into this. Now this is wired exactly the same as the ether. In theory, it's a little LED tea light, but I went and rerouted the little wires for them. So now when the positive and negative touch through the magnet, the stone lights up. I just realized the lighting wasn't the best. I apologize for that, guys. So all I did was bend the metal tabs of the tea light into a different position. And now the light, when it makes that contact, I can basically just touch these two together and they'll light up. But I'm using the magnet on the bottom of the soulstone, and it's almost like a little kickstand for it. So this is its whole own little system right here. Very cheap. I love dollar store electronics for projects like these. And a little piece of Velcro. Now I went and covered everything in black paint and black tape just to kind of help hide everything. And you can see right here is the little limiter switch. And I built up a little kickstand with hot glue, so when this flips down, it activates the limiter switch and the lights turn on. You can see them pulsing and chasing in there. Here's the connector to the battery that's down here, and this just routes from the battery pack to the limiter switch to the actual switch on the back, and then to the lights. So I can turn off the switch in the back, turn it on, limiter switch on and off. Now if I disconnect that, I can come in here and pull out the entire electronic system. And let me disconnect the battery. So right here, you'll probably recognize this entire system. This is the exact same fog smoke machine I made in the other video. And here's the one I wired up in the video. And this is the remote control fog system. So now I can just turn it on and it smokes. I've just condensed the wires down into a much simpler form and put a piece of Velcro that locks it into the back here. And this is the exact same thing I did with the battery in the other video. I have a way to plug the battery in and a way to charge it without having to remove the system. I just went and hot glued the charging port into the back of the casing right here So now I don't need to take everything out to charge it. I can just plug the port right in, and then I can charge it via USB without having to disassemble anything. But that will only charge the smoke machine. It won't charge the batteries in the bottom, and it won't charge the little tea light. Maybe one day I'll go and try to incorporate it all into its own standalone battery system, but we're not there yet, and I'm okay with how it works for now. So here's the little wireless receiver, here's the micro air pump, here's the vape, and I can still unscrew the top to refill it when it runs out of, if it's ever running out of fluid. And then here is the LEDs that are just lightly taped to the front, and they're aimed forward. Now this little circuit, this little connector right here, there's two connectors on this. This goes to the LEDs, and then this one over here is for the wireless smoke machine. So make sure you don't mix them up. I have them reversed. So one is a male, one's a female, so I can't accidentally ever mix them up. I can't accidentally ever plug the 6 volt into where the LiPo is supposed to go. Even though they're about the same voltage and they would work, I don't want to accidentally start possibly charging the wrong thing or something go wrong. So take that into mind. Like I always say, Velcro is your best friend in these cases, just for moving things around and making the not a complete permanent system. But this is the little air pump with the LEDs. And then initially, this whole model was printed with infill. It was printed before I had established what I wanted to do, and it's printed at 200% scale of the original model. Now, the modeler Jeet may have gone and resized it to this as 100%, but make sure you're just checking your measurements and doing your math before you go and print this. The first version was printed in not clear PLA because it was just supposed to be some type of jewelry box, or the original thought we had was taking the stone and suspending it between the pillars, but this thing would have to be about 3 or 4 times this size for that to even look good. So I hacked it in half, and then I took my soldering iron and cleared out all of the infill. You should be able to print this at like a 1% infill, and if you get creative enough, maybe a 0% infill, it should top layer just fine. I definitely would experiment around with that, but there is room to expand on it, maybe making the pillars bigger. It would be nice for me to add more LEDs into the base, so it's not just the column that is glowing and illuminating. I just need to get my hands on another one of these chasing boards, which are from some super cheap Halloween electronics. Again, Halloween is a great time to go and just buy these cheap, dinky little electronics to use in your props and stuff. So I'm definitely a fan of it. So before reassembling this, I just wanted to give you guys a quick little breakdown on what the model looks like once you drop it in Cura, and it's really simple. It's just the column itself. Now, depending on how crazy you want to go with it, you could drop it in a mesh mixer and make a plain cut across it. Now, this is the file I have. Now, I'm not positive if Jeet has gone and scaled it up stock, but this is added 100% for the one I have. Just do your measurements, figure it out. If you go here to the actual scale of it, you can see that it's 96 wide by 125 tall. So you can use the millimeters to figure out what your dimensionality is. It won't fit at 200%, but if you drop it down to like 195, yeah, it'll just perfectly fit in an Ender 3. I have everything maxed out, super quality, 1% gyroid infill, something like this. It's a very stable print. I'd be very comfortable bumping this up to 70, maybe even 80 millimeters a second print speed. It doesn't need any supports. It doesn't need a raft or any build plate adhesion. So let's go ahead and slice this. 1 day, 14 hours, not too bad. And we'll go to preview. And this is definitely going to push a stock Ender to its absolute limit in quality. If your printer's built nice, this will come out absolutely beautiful. It's a pretty simple model. You really shouldn't have any crazy layer lines or wobble on it. The top layers aren't too bad, and they kind of lend to the snowy built up texture of it. And if you look through it, 2,000 layers. That's actually pretty impressive. The gyroid infill really doesn't take up much space at all. If anything, it would just be stability for helping the top print, but you could easily cut this in half after you print it, pull out the gyroid, maybe hollow out the bottom, make a lamp. I did have a kind of a cool thought of you can maybe cut the stone pillars off at the top and maybe put a magnet in the bottom of each of them so they're like keys, and once you connect them to the top, all the lights start going, or it lets you unlock, you know, the bottom to pull the soul stone out. So the sky's the limit with it. It's a super simple model. It's really what you do after you print it that makes all of the difference. So let's get back to assembly and put this thing back together. So that's all this STL file is. In the end, it's just the mountain. So if any of you guys end up using this thing, I'd really love to see how creative you get with it. Are you going to print it 3, 4, 5 times bigger and suspend the stone between the pillars? Are you going to hollow it out like I did? Or, you know, there's a lot of potential with this, and I think it's a pretty unique display piece for the Soulstone. So let me get this thing back together, and yeah, we'll move on. So again, the wireless smoke machine, if you guys want more information on how to make this, there is a whole other video dedicated to this, so definitely go and check that out. It looks like I still have a good amount of fluid left, which is great. So we're gonna head and throw this up in here. Oh, the last thing I didn't talk about was along the model itself, I went and perforated it with a bunch of holes. And what I mean by that is I literally took my soldering iron and melted a couple little strategic holes that don't distract too much from the model around it to allow the smoke to kind of billow out from some other areas. It kind of works. I also put 2 holes behind the pillars up here, and that allows the smoke to kind of sit on top. So again, get as creative you guys want. Maybe if you took like a really, really hot pin or needle, you can make dozens of really tiny holes that would be basically invisible, but you know, that's a problem for another time. And there we have Vormir, all done. And what's nice about the vape smoke is as it comes out, it'll sit inside. So when you finally do open it up, it almost sits like in a little pool there and pulls out. So I think it adds a really great effect to the entire prop. Stay. So that pretty much does it for this video, guys, and my entire Project Infinity project. Hopefully now at the end of the series, you guys have a better understanding of how to go and make all 6 Infinity Stone containers now that we have something for the Soulstone. Now, if you guys come up with your own models, please share them. Tag me on Instagram, send them to me. I'd love to see what other creative ideas you guys might eventually come up with. Like I said, that I think a model of Vormir's hand, a green hand, and Black Widow's hand with the little electric shock thingy kind of cradled together like that, holding the stone floating between them. I think that would also be a pretty cool model of it. But I like the Vormir better. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this series. And as always, if you have any questions about anything you've seen, please drop a comment down below. I'll try to elaborate on some things. I'll try to go into more detail, or hit me up on the Discord. There's a link for that down below, totally free, or hit me up on Instagram. These stone holders are a reason a lot of you guys found me on TikTok, Instagram, and watched my YouTube. So it was really cool to finally make these videos. And again, I'm sorry they took so long. However, I am happy that I took my time to make them. I'm really happy with this whole series, and I really like to know what you guys thought about this. If you guys haven't already, if you could subscribe, that would really help the channel out. I do have more cool series coming out like this. The MCU is far from slowing down, on top of other pop culture, animes, the DCEU, and Star Wars, all that fun stuff. So I'm not stopping anytime soon. I have a lot more projects planned, and I hope you guys can stay tuned for them. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. You have a good day.